And again, a warm welcome to everyone in this session about coaching supervision matters. It's matters of coaching supervision, and also the fact that coaching supervision matters, especially in team coaching, as we have seen since the release of the ICF's team coaching competency model, where the coaching supervision is included in the competencies of the team coach, and it is also one of the requirements for any coach practitioner, team coach practitioner who wants to apply for the advanced certification in team coaching. Today, we have the pleasure to feature our two brilliant experts, coaching supervisors, Eva Hirsch Pontes and Gillian Walter. This is Katerina Kanelidou. I'm going to be your host for this webinar. What is it that we are going to see? We already mentioned the housekeeping, and I'm going shortly to put these also in the chat box. And we are going to now proceed with some introductions. Sorry, this happens to me all the time. Afterwards, we are going to listen to Eva and Gillian as they explain to us what exactly is coaching supervision, why does it matter, the case specifically for coaching supervision in team coaching. What does a coaching supervision session look like? This is a very frequent question that we receive. Another frequent question is how to choose the right supervisor for you. We will have time for Q&A, some announcements, and after that, we will have a few more minutes for networking and further conversation. Okay, so let me multitask right now and put the housekeeping rules that we discussed before we started the recording in the chat box for everyone now to see, for those who arrived right now. So thank you. And now, oh, by the way, I made a lot of talking. I'm going to present you to Eva and Gillian. Werner said, oh, I am in the minority. We have an example of other kinds of minorities with the number of MCCs we have now. Please put in the chat box, what is your location right now? So where is it that you are joining us from? I know that we have a multicultural crowd of people here. I see some from the US, some from, oh, sunny Florida. Yeah, Jimmy, don't tell us again. Lithuania, Portugal, Kansas City, Berlin. This time, Berlin, we'll see why. South coast of England, this time, again, we'll see why. Central Illinois, New Delhi, Greece, Alps. Wow. Okay, different place now. Utah, I think Utah, it's pronounced. Brilliant. Wow, nice, 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 nice. Okay, thank you all for sharing with us where you are joining us from. And let's see, who are our speakers today? Yeah, I know many of you already know them, but for those of you, Eva Hirsch Pontes is a licensed psychologist, MCC and ACTC coach with the ICF, and an ESIA accredited coach supervisor by the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. Before becoming coach in 2006, Eva worked for more than 25 years as an executive in the shipping industry, holding several key positions, including director and board member. Eva currently alternates her residence between Berlin and her hometown, Rio de Janeiro. Apart from her activities as executive and team coach and coach supervisor, Eva also works as conflict mediator and invited faculty at several business schools in Brazil. Eva has also been actively involved in volunteer activities for ICF. She integrated the first board of ICF Brazil chapter and later held a seat in the advisory board of that chapter. She also served the local ethics committee and has worked as ICF assessor for over 12 years. Together with Wendy Ann Smith, Dumisani Magatlela, and Professor David Clutterbuck, she co-edited the book Ethical Case Studies for Coach Development and Practice, a coach companion that it was recently published by Routledge. And fun fact, Eva Well, there are many fun facts about Eva, by the way, but one she said that it's okay to share is that she's a dancer. She has been dancing since she was 3 years old. One of the dances she likes to engage is in ballroom dancing. She finds that dancing with a partner in a ballroom brings learnings and proves extremely valuable to her coaching and supervision practice. On the dance floor, there is a need to wait and follow instead of trying to anticipate the next step. This is a wonderful way for her to practice and hone skills like partnering presence, boundary awareness, connection, listening, and expressing her full self in an authentic combination of art and technique. I am old enough to be in the Orlando Global Conference of ICF in 2009, where one of the sessions was about tango and coaching and the relationship of these two. Our second presenter is Gillian. She's a coach, supervisor, mentor, artist, owner of Inside Out Coaching, and author of Brave Voice books, a variety of creative reflection books and resources around using poetry and art in coaching and supervision. Gillian is accredited as an EMCC and an ACTC by the ICF, and also accredited by the EMCC, APECS, EASC, and CSA, all the coaching supervision associations. Her client work stems from creative, narrative, and somatic coaching and supervision methodologies. She believes in the power of creativity and hands-on thinking to open new and innovative perspectives and ways of thinking. Gillian is born in England, loves living and working in Switzerland, and internationally across languages and cultures. She was on the board of directors for the ICF Switzerland chapter and is still an active volunteer and member of the ICF local community in the Zurich area and nationally. When Gillian isn't coaching, supervising, assessing, or mentoring, she loves to paint and write and enjoys nothing more than being out in Swiss nature with her family and a schnauzer called Indy. Indy once decided to swim in a lake that was frozen, and I still remember that because Gillian went to her rescue and they were both afterwards frozen. A fun fact about Gillian is that she used to work as an interpreter for the deaf and still maintains that this gave her the very best education for noticing body language and energy shifts, even in a large group of people, without a single word being said. So thank you both very much for offering your knowledge, expertise, and time today. Both of Gillian and Eva are supervisors and mentors, part of the Team Coaching Global Alliance. Team Coaching Global Alliance is sponsoring our webinar today and who we are. We were founded in 2020 by Jonathan Reitz, myself, and Kan van Hooy. And you see all three of us here because, in the middle of pandemic and lockdowns, what else we could do? We have completed so far 11 training cohorts in team coaching, 8 in foundations, 3 in advanced programs, currently running 4th and 9th cohort accordingly. And there are more than 130 team coaches trained, more than 50% of them having advanced coaching credentials. We have covered 37 different countries, a truly global experience. And we are proud that our graduates have 100% success in their ACTC applications and exam. And also we have a global pricing policy adjusted to each country and economy. Our programs, so you see in the left some of the photos of our graduations. Our training programs include the AATC program, the direct pathway to the ACTC certification, the credit for prior learning path to the ACTC, and the Team Coaching Global Certificate, and of course, coaching supervision that are run in groups of 3 or 4 participants that are run every month with Eva and Gillian. Now, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to invite to the stage Eva and Gillian and I'm going to follow with interest what they have to tell us today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Katerina. Lovely to be here with Gillian. Lovely to see so many familiar faces. And lovely to be here talking about one of my passions, which is supervision. So the way Gillian and I have envisaged this, we will start with basics. It's always good to go back to basics. So start with the proper definitions from the professional bodies. I'll do ICF, Gillian will do EMCC, but we'll also then complement those definitions with our own private metaphors that we have created in our practice. So let me just move this so I can read all the windows here. So that's basically, then let's start making a difference for those who don't know what's the difference between mental coaching and coaching supervision. Until today, quite often I do meet coaches who tell me, oh yes, during my training program, I had supervision. And when you ask about, some training programs do offer supervision, but most don't. And when you go into it, it was mostly mental coaching. So mental coaching for ICF, a credential consists of coaching and feedback in a collaborative, appreciative, and dialogue process. We bring our coaching way of working to the process, but it's based on an observed or a recorded coaching session to increase the coach's capability in coaching in alignment with the ICF core competencies. Now, because I noticed there are so many credentialed coaches on the call and also supervisors, then I'll stop here and talk about a little nuance that maybe not all of you have noticed, which is here ICF is talking about capability and competencies. And when we move to the definition of coaching supervision, then the word changes to capacity. And capability is not a synonym of capacity in that sense, because based on Hawkins' definitions, competency is to know how to use a skill. Capability is know how, when, and where to use that skill. It's just not knowing the skill, but exactly when and where to use the skill. And competency and capabilities can be developed in a classroom, but capability will also need to happen by doing, by practicing. So you learn it in a classroom and you practice the competency. That's the difference between competency and capability. Now, capacity has to do with your way of being, and it cannot be learned in the classroom. And it's beautiful that ICF picks up on these nuances, even though it's not clear that supervision is to continually build, sorry, I can't read all my slides, so it is a collaborative learning practice to continually build the capacity of the coach through reflective dialogue. And reflective dialogue is so important in the practice of supervision for the benefit of both coaches and clients and the systems we work with. It's not written here, but we know we're working for the whole system. And coaching supervision focuses on the development, again, of the coach's capacity through offering a richer and broader opportunity for support and development. And in coaching, the coaching supervision creates a safe environment for the coach to share their successes and failures in becoming masterful in the way they work with their clients. I just, in a conference 2 weeks ago, someone quoted, I don't know who is the author of that, what I'm going to say, but it doesn't belong to me, but it's, we don't learn from our failures. We learn from reflecting on our failures. So this space to reflect on our failures and our successes is what makes us develop. So basically, one way of looking at it is that mental coaching is more concerned with how you're doing whatever you're doing. It's the way you express your competencies. And supervision is about who you're being. Who you are is how you coach. That's the motto of Coaching Supervision Academy, where both Gillian and I were trained as coaching supervisors. Who you are is how you coach. Who you are is how you supervise. So you have to continually work on your capacity. And I love this quote from wonderful book from Houston and Carroll. The luxury of supervision is having the time to pause and consider without the rush of doing. So that you really have that space where you don't have to get to an end goal. And we will talk about this later when we sort of explain what a session looks like. So it's a time to pause and to have a conversation with your practice. And a metaphor that I like to use is, because I'm a very tiny person, another fun fact, people don't see me, and I'm usually hit by backpacks in trains, buses, airplanes, airports, whatever. People just don't see me. Now you see, I got this picture of a very tiny person whose backpack is double the volume of her body. There's no way that she can be aware of the volume of her body. And every time she turns in a tight space, she will be hitting someone. And the metaphor that I like to bring is, if we don't have a safe space to open our backpack and examine it and clean it, we may be bringing our backpack into our sessions and impacting our clients without knowing. And because you're very limited on time today, usually I would love, you can even type that, we will pick that later, what can be in a coaching, in the coach's backpack. But I will not stop to read the chat now, but you can start thinking. And I will just summarize it. Well, probably treasures that we have forgotten they were there, and maybe we could have access to something you've been looking for, like recently the keys to my house that were lost in my daughter-in-law's backpack. So something you really need, and they're there. And you find something really valuable about yourself in there. And quite often, things that don't really serve you, you don't even know how they got there. Or sometimes you do know how they got there, but like assumptions, biases that need to be examined. So this is a place where we can examine our backpack so that we don't carry it in a way that might hurt the clients we're working with. And with that said, Gillian, what would you add? And you tell me when to move slides, okay, please?
Yeah, this is wonderful. And thank you, Eva. I have quite poor Wi-Fi here and a lot of noise behind me. So thank you, Eva, for doing the slides for me. What I would like to talk about is when we're looking at our backpack and we're looking at how we're being and how we're showing up with our clients. There's a really great definition here by Peter Hawkins, where he's talking about some of Hawkins and Smith, I should say, where they really defined 3 core parts of supervision. And you can see them quite briefly here that I'll just add to. And one of them is when we're looking in that backpack and we're opening up and we're exploring, we're looking at how can we raise the qualitative aspect of our work. So how can we, in a supervision session where we have that space to pause and unpack, really provide that quality control function. So this could include anything from gaps in training, it could be understanding those abilities and capabilities that Eva was talking about. It could be something about our blind spots. It could be ensuring that our work is professional and ethical. So how are we showing up and making sure that our presence is qualitatively developing? Then when we look at the developmental part, this is like developing your team coaching skills, maybe practicing, understanding the client better, understanding the systems better. Maybe, I'm really sorry about the noise if it's disturbing you, I can barely hear myself. Maybe being aware of our own reactions and responses, which is also something that's quite often in our backpack and we're unaware of, how we're being triggered, how we're looking at interventions in our work or exploring ways of being. And then finally, I love that the word is split here, of the resourcing. So resourcing ourselves is, yes, developing new techniques or ways of working or understanding better, but it's also a place to pause and notice what we need. Notice what we need as a human being so that we can show up better, qualitative, better developed for our clients. So this is maybe responding to the effect of a client's emotions, or listening, supporting, challenging. So in other words, a real safe and fertile space to just, as Eva said, pause and breathe so that we can think wider and more clearly, to reflect and recharge our batteries first. And, you know, the supervision has a little bit of a history to the word of it. It can be really off-putting, and it does have that sort of historical sense of checking and controlling and judging. So here we have a difference as well between the mentoring, which is this person presenting this competency in a right or wrong way? Are they doing this correctly or not? And supervision is, what we really like to do is split that word into two, so that we've got the super or wider or meta or multifaceted vision or perspective, or how we see things. So Eva, do you want to just, I think the next slide was the one about the global ethics. We just touch on that very briefly, as I'm watching the time that's flying away. Yeah, so we wanted to just touch on the global code of ethics, because Eva pointed out what the ICF wrote relatively recently, and the code of ethics has been going on a lot longer. And we have 12 membership bodies, and the bodies signing is really worth, just go and Google Global Code of Ethics. It's a wonderful reading council or assignee, the Association of Coaches, the Association of Professional Executive Supervisors and Coaches. I've probably missed some, the European Association of Supervision and Coaching as well. All of these coaching bodies have signed, and they're coming together. And they've decided to come together with their ethical code because, as well as all that we've said so far, coaching, and especially team coaching, is, well, it's complex enough. And on top of that, we now have a really expansive global reach. The range of our client work is expanding. The increasing use of digitalization or artificial intelligence is growing. There are anyway challenges to ethical practice around what was mentioned at the beginning, thank you, Werner, around diversity, inclusion, privacy, confidentiality. But also there's coming in the ethical sense now of forward planning for our coaching practices in unexpected circumstances. You know, how do we continue to support our clients if something happens to us? And the ethical reasons to have our own support systems in place, and how that ripples out to our client, to the people that are working with our client, to the teams, and so on. So these are things that go above and beyond the way we see the competencies written and how we show up in a mentoring session, for instance. So Eva, would it be okay if we shared this really short video? So there's a lot of words there and a lot of technical jargon. And as Eva shared her backpack and it's a wonderful metaphor, I also created a very short cartoon style video that Eva's going to share in a moment. And I used the metaphor as a video game to show that we go to mentoring in order to learn the how to collect those golden rings of know-how, how to get up to the next level of the video game. And as we move towards these new levels of accreditation, we really do have two support routes: mentoring, supporting the process, the competencies, as Eva said, the know-how and the development of our learning in order to achieve credentialing levels. So we study and we practice and we work to collect these golden rings. But then we might fall down once in a while. We might actually be triggered by something that happens as we learn. We might have hurdles where we want to jump over to successfully reach a final goal. And the supervision part is all about being, learning about ourselves and doing work on ourselves. So it's about what's going on for us within and outside the competencies, because we're each a unique person. So thank you for the reminder of who we are is how we coach. And it's about our relationship in that who we are, relationship to our work, relationship to other, relationship to quite highly complex human interactions and systems and processes. And with supervision, there's no end goal. It really is CPD, continued professional development. So I'm going to shut up now because I think metaphors and images are worth 1,000 words. Excuse the chopped off quality. I chopped off my branding for the sake of us watching here, but let's have a look. Thank you, Eva.
When your profession supports the development of other people, especially when these people support the development of other people, you have to stay game fit. No two human beings' interactions or relationships are the same, and behaviours, reactions and outcomes can never be perfectly predicted, which is why we as coaches and leaders diligently collect golden rings of know-how, dodge sticky situation bombs and leap learning gaps, gathering new skills and competencies for our professional toolboxes. Keeping updated with current thinking and techniques achieves new credentialing levels, builds confidence and credibility, and it's fun. Yet, however attentively we work through professional development levels and however many golden rings of know-how we have, sticky situation bombs still catch us out and drain our energy. Difficult interactions, ethical dilemmas and uncertainties can have us feeling lonely and stuck, thinking, have I missed something? Training, practice and feedback help, but the most crucial and valuable aspect of our work demands more. No, you won't find it there. That word does look daunting, but you won't find a controller or judge in there. Does your inner critic say, climb back up and try again alone? I get that. Let me try something. The most crucial and valuable aspect of your work is you, but you can't see all of you alone. Try a supervision of what makes you you, of relationships, systems and situations. Yes, even sticky ones. Leave your stuff at the door, pause the relational game and explore. It's easier to see more together, isn't it? Nothing is clear viewed only from one angle. Mentors and trainers are competence experts. Supervisors are humanity experts, demystifying human behaviour. Supervisor support brings relief to the highly volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous VUCA world systems we live and work in. What's down there? That's a supervision. Try it out. It looks like you found everything you need. Looking good from here. What about from there? Our profession is only partially influenced by tools and strategies. Supervision translates how the lenses we view the world through influence how we support others to find strength and resources in who they are too. Develop your coaching and leadership supervision.
Thank you, Eva.
So I love that video, Gillian. We will need to be shorter, briefer, you and I. So why don't you start a talk about, and I can bring up the slide, about why is it even more important? Why does it matter in team coaching? And can we move to that part then, starting from you?
Please, yeah.
Please. Okay, so I'll share the next slide. Just wait a minute, please. You can, okay, here we are. When I
So
minimize my window now.
As Eva's
go ahead.
bringing that up, I would just encourage you to bring your attention to yourself for a moment and think about what makes you a unique human being. Your culture, your upbringing, your dreams, skills, things that have happened to you. Think about the things you know about yourself that you share, things about you know about yourself that you don't. Maybe things you don't know about yourself, they're harder to think of. Assumptions, beliefs, niggles, desires. Do you want to move on to the Brooks Law, Eva? We can whiz through that. And now thinking about yourself and all the things that make you you, consider yourself as one of those dots on the triangle, just one. And then consider what happens when you add two other unique people with their own spoken, unspoken thoughts, beliefs, desires, lenses, cultures, backpacks within backpacks. And just notice what that feels like. Because unspoken systems, unspoken dynamics, company dynamics, cultures, including the things a team member is and isn't expected to say, think, do. And then you put all this team stuff in relationship with other teams, where there's maybe an unspoken, our team is like this and they are like that, or this company always, or whatever's added on top of who you are as a human being, who the people you're working in your smaller team are, and beyond, and beyond. Is this idea again, understanding yourself as a human being, but then understanding how the influence ripples out and out through another system that also ripples in and in back to you. So if we consider that here we've got a team of 6 as the most complex, three-dimensional team, and you can imagine what's going on there. But then, Eva, if you move to the next slide, we can see that when there's a system within a system within a system, and each of the dots in this system is a unique human being with stuff they know about themselves, stuff they say, stuff they don't, how they're triggered, how they're supported, how they're interacting with everything else that's going on for them. You can see that team coaching is mind-blowingly complex and needs maybe even more space to pause and reflect and look at what's going on. So if you think about the fact that this here Brooks Law was originally, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Eva, was this not originally something to do with IT and the idea that if you're running late on a project and you bring other people into that project, that actually you're making the project even slower? Because by the time you've communicated, been triggered, had arguments, disagreements, misunderstandings, with more people coming in, you're actually going to be slower in the long run. So the more people that are added, the slower something is actually going to happen. So this idea of when we're dealing with teams, the necessity, the ethical obligation to pause. So Eva, shall I go ahead and share a short case here? If I fly through a quick case just to show this. So when I was thinking about an ethical case to bring, it's not my case, it was a supervisee, so a supervision client that came, and it really brought this to life, I think, because when I was thinking about the cases and how these complexities and the application of Brooks Law can really sort of mind blow as team coaches. If you think about taking this and then adding family dynamics on top of that, if you think about communication and what people feel they can and cannot share in the system they're in, I think you'll agree that this needs a supervision. So the case that that came to mind for me was someone brought a case of a relatively small team and a relatively small company where it really was a family company. The mother and the father were running the company, and the mother got very, very sick and died. So the father stepped up, and long story short, the dynamics, the team coach had to go through all of this too. And then the father and owner worked very hard to keep things going and support the daughter in taking over the reins. Now I have a beep that's coming from somewhere, sorry. And the daughter was really stuck in an ethical dilemma. And here's the coach trying to step up and hold the grief, the family dynamics, the questions of ethics on what do we do next, how do we still grow the business. And the daughter was really stuck in this ethical dilemma between being who she needs to be and doing what she feels she needs to do the right thing by her family. So I'm not going to read that further. I'm just going to go to the end, and the reflection in the supervisee's words is that she said that since the supervision group conversation that we had, she really noticed that multiple perspectives were emerging there that she hadn't seen before, and unconscious patterns. So she realized more clearly that there were patterns working and also reflecting and triggering some of her own patterns. So she was realizing that she was holding off on being honest and challenging because she was really connecting with her own empathy of being a mother and a daughter, not just being a coach, and was really stepping into almost a nurturing, protective parent role rather than a team coach role. But at the beginning of this, she wasn't able to see that. So I think, Eva, I will leave the rest of that and just pass that over to you for the sake of time, because we're starting to get quite tight. Is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you, Gillian. Yeah, and there is another aspect in Brooks Law. It will get late in projects where people are interdependent. So it came from project management in IT, but it can apply to any situation where people are interdependent. And that's why we're bringing this, because visually you can see the complexity. So we've been bringing metaphors and visuals and also definitions. So let's bring in what Peter Hawkins says about effective team coaching. This he wrote recently on a LinkedIn post. To have someone who can maintain the difficult boundary position of working closely with the team while remaining relatively independent of the team dynamics and culture, and who can be aware of the systemic dynamics, both within the team and between the team and the wider systemic levels that the team is nested within. To be able to sense and make sense of these complex system dynamics, it's almost impossible if one is working alone, but it becomes possible with good quality supervision. And then another aspect of supervision that I would like to add here. So Gillian has brought in the ethical aspect or function of supervision. I will bring in it's not a function, but something that we quite explore in supervision, which is parallel processes. Gillian just said there were patterns. Usually there are patterns in the cases we're working with, within the teams, within the system, and unconsciously, quite often, it may happen that we pick them up from our clients, be it in one-on-one coaching, but even more so in team coaching, because there are so many relationships. We're always looking at the relationships. So now we have shown what these relationships look like. And an example is, I'm actually putting together several examples. So this is not one example, but it's a collection of examples to create one example to make it more clear. Quite often, team coaches will come to supervision saying, either, I don't know what's happening to me, I'm being too nice, or I don't know what's happening to me, I'm triggered and I'm challenging too much. I'm stepping in. So it's an awareness that something's not right, but they don't know what it is, then we can unpack it together. And one of the phenomena that we notice is, I'm being too nice, for instance. And as we explore that, what does it mean to be nice? I'm noticing some patterns and I'm not sharing with them. I'm holding back. And as we explore that further in this hypothetical case, they'll say, well, one of the things that I'd like to share is that they're holding back. What do you mean by that? I think it's their culture. I don't think because they still haven't understood they're a single entity as a team, they're respecting hierarchy. I don't think they have permission to say what they think. So that moment, another metaphor is balcony and dance floor that we can use. We can go to the balcony with this coach in group supervision, have them look at what's going on in those dynamics on the dance floor to realize maybe they're holding back. And as the team coach was on the dance floor, they couldn't notice they're also holding back, reenacting the same behavior of the team. And that reenactment of that pattern is something we do unconsciously. So going up to the balcony and looking at that, then they can realize, oh gosh, I'm doing exactly what they're doing. So then they can make a decision of when and how they're going to share whatever it is they think they're important. So that's an example. I hope I was clear enough about parallel processes. So Gillian, we have 1 more minute to cover what we're supposed to cover.
We can take a few more minutes.
Okay, thank you, Katerina. No, so another point that we were supposed to cover here is what does it look like? What does a session look like? And I'm going to then very briefly explain that. You can have coaching supervision one-on-one or in a group. So I'll very briefly explain one-on-one, and then Gillian, you can very briefly explain a group, what it looks like. I know many supervisors who will ask at the beginning of a supervision session, what is it that you would like to have at the end of this conversation? And we'll also invite measures of success, just as we do in coaching. And it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's who you are is how you coach. Who you are is how you supervise. Sorry. And in supervision, we are out of the right and wrong game, as we've said before. But it's style. In my view, the purpose of supervision is to find out what we don't know is there. So it would be the purpose for me to ask you, what is it that you want to find out? Like Columbus, they didn't know they were going to get to America until you get to America, and then, oh, this is America. So the expedition, the exploration is the purpose, based on a very well-established psychological safety agreement that we are both safe to explore and say, is this working? Is this not working? Where should we go now? So on one-on-one or even on group coaching supervision, I will not ask what the end result is. But so that's the no end goal rule, just as an example. Gillian, what would you add apart from that? Because I know you have the same view, apart from that, to how a group coaching supervision looks like.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. I'm in full agreement with your way of working too. What I do at the beginning of sessions is encourage people to bring their situation to mind. And as they bring it to mind, notice what's going on for them in their physical body. So whether there's a tightening or some thoughts coming up or some, whatever that may be, and just noticing that thinking about this case does something to them. And also I give them a little bit of time to consider the question. I think supervision is rather more around finding the right question to ask ourselves than finding an endpoint to work towards. So it is about the exploration. So if we take that and move it into a group session, and now another metaphor is coming to mind. I think we're going for a metaphor world record here. But you know, this, I don't know if you know the story about the blind people and the elephant. You know, they all came together and they each touched the elephant at one point, and one said, well, it's a tree, and one said it's a rope, and one's a fan, and one said, no, it's a wall. And they believed that they were right and the others were wrong. And I think once upon a time, there was a safe space called supervision where all of the coaches that had different, maybe a similar sort of experience, but they, because they're unique, experienced it in a different way. And they could come together and they could bring all the pieces of the puzzle, and they could hold up mirrors for each other. So it's very much like coming into a mirror hall when we have a group dynamic going on. And as Eva said, when there is a very safe and well-contracted space where we can hold up the mirror, we can be compassionately curious, we can challenge each other's, or we contract where we're looking forward to challenging each other's point of view and noticing what someone else, when someone else speaks about something, what that does to us as well, and discussing it, exploring, expanding, a professional arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder wander through all of those mirror halls to discover the whole elephant. So I think in terms of group coaching, group coaching supervision, I wouldn't give up one-on-one, and I wouldn't give up group, because they give me such different things. I think in terms of group, as I say, we cannot see the full picture alone. I think that's clear. When we come together as a group, this is pooling those perspectives, different ways of thinking, different ways of learning, you can probably hear that I'm quite a visual person, so it's interesting for me to hear other ways of working. Mutual learning, when one person brings a case and learns from it, I'm learning about myself and my cases too. So we're sharing knowledge and skills and experience. We're supporting each other, we're challenging each other. I think also that psychological safety, where we can try things out together, practice together, discover and explore blind spots, because you can see a tiny speck of sawdust in someone else's eye, but you can never see an entire tree in your own eye. And I think in that sense, group supervision is just a joy. It's just a joy. So we've already gone 5 minutes over, Eva. I'm sorry for waffling. Do we hand it back to you, Katerina, now?
Eva, you're on mute.
Gillian, then we have one final question. Is it okay if I just address it and then
Yes.
give it back? Okay. You just used the mirrors, the hall of mirrors, right? So the last question is how to choose supervision for you. Now, what's the right kind? If you're looking for the ACTC credential, then there is something which is very objective. And it's there. Supervisors need to be accredited or be experienced. We don't have to read this. This is there, the requirements. But let's go here. It depends on what you're looking for. As supervisors, we are constantly supervised. So I do one-on-one supervision and group supervision. I am supervised on my supervision cases and my team coaching cases and so on. And I would, before giving it back to Katerina, it very much depends on what do you notice that you need right now? What's your developmental edge? And who do you connect with? These are, because the relational aspect of supervision is so important. This is how I would define this. And Gillian, at the end, you can always, of course, complement it, please. But I think we need to give it back to Katerina.
Yeah, indeed. I would say do that again that I suggested earlier when we were looking at Brooks Law, which is think about you. You are the expert on you. So think about what you need to help you open up, to help you trust, to be able to show up vulnerable, your best learning style. And I'm sure this is easier and more fulfilling task with a certain kind of person and learning style and communication style than with others. So the first things first when you're looking for a supervisor is knowing yourself and then saying, all right, let's take that understanding of who I am and what works best for me, and then go and meet some. Go and have some calls. It's usually free with different supervisors, and just notice, is this someone that I could unpack my backpack with and feel safe and have some fun and stay curious and feel supported with this person? So it really is about who you are and what you need, as Eva said. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Gillian and Eva. And we are in how to choose the right supervisor for you. So there are the typical requirements that also are reflected in the slide that Eva, you can show the slide, Eva, quickly, of the typical requirements that are also the requirements of the ICF for the ACTC application. So these are the typical requirements that you can look out for a coach. There are also the other kind of requirements, that, like the ones that Gillian said. Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel okay to be vulnerable? If I'm working with groups, with these supervisors, I'm going also to be okay with these groups. So it's also to check more things than just this list of typical requirements. And it's okay to have a conversation with more than one. Thank you, Eva, and thank you, Gillian. Now, okay. Just a couple of announcements, and we will continue with the conversation and Q&A. Now, the announcement is that we have more coaching supervision groups that start in June 3 with Eva and with Gillian. And they are actually, the time zones, they are all covered here because there are groups scheduled at the AM of Central European Time and groups that are scheduled at PM of Central European Time. So we were very careful to be sure that no matter where you live, no matter what is your time zone, you will find a group that suits you well. And these are 3 sessions per group to cover 5 hours of coaching supervision, which is actually the exact requirement for supervision for the ACTC application. Unless you go with a prior learning path, in that case, you will need to complete 10 hours. You can find more at the link here. I will put it also in the chat box. And in September also, we have new cohorts of the Team Coaching Global Certificate that starts and the Advanced Certification in Team Coaching. That's the direct pathway for the ACTC, as well as the credit for prior learning path to ACTC. Again, you can sign up for our newsletter because every month in our newsletter, we send a team coaching tip. So every month there is a team coaching tip of situations that you will find yourself when you're coaching a team. And actually one of the tips was from Gillian from Supervision, or it was from Eva, one of you, but we are going to have more definitely. You can contact us directly, either Gillian, Eva, or myself at our email, or you can follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook. And we try to just share also useful things, not just announcements, but also other useful resources for you. Okay, so time for our conversation, more questions that you have. And I have a question that I hear a lot from coaches who have never done supervision before. And one of the very frequent questions they ask is like, oh, should I bring a recorded session? Should I record my coaching session and bring it to the supervision? Or should my supervisor be present when I coach the client? So that's a frequent question. Gillian, Eva?
Oh, you want us to answer that?
Yes, I know, because others also are going to watch this recording and they will have this question. So what do we say to them?
No, please don't bring a session, bring yourself. And we are exploring what's happening to you in the here and now as you reflect on that session and how that can help you in terms of your qualitative, developmental, and resourcing aspects. No, we are not here to judge. That's not our role. Gillian.
I would thoroughly agree. Quite often when you see it, I mean, if you're doing mentor work or you're doing assessing work, then you are going to see recordings. But the curious thing is that when you work with a coach in a mentoring session and we're ticking off or we're saying, oh, you managed this here, or where do you think you did really well there, or what do you feel is missing? And we're sort of coaching them through their own performance, if you like. Quite often, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Eva, we have coaches that say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that looked so good because inside me, this was happening or that was happening, or I just beating myself up with a big stick as this was happening because I should have said this or I should have said that. So it's those parts that we want to We want to take those out of the backpack and look at, well, you know, what was going on for you in that moment, rather than what it looked like from an external point of view, or what competency it did or didn't tick. So I think absolutely, it's rather looking at what's going on for the coach, looking at the patterns of, so has this happened before, or does this happen with a certain kind of client, or does it happen when something particular is going on in your life that this happens, or is it a one-off? And you don't get any of that from a recording.
Yeah.
And please don't come and watch
Oh.
what it would do to a team to say, well, this is my supervisor. She's just going to sit over here for half an hour. Continue, carry on and be yourselves. It's not really going to happen, is it?
No, it doesn't. Thank you both very much. I don't know if Tamara, Huda, Elena, Soraya, Werner, you have any questions or any input for us, please do so. You can either directly unmute yourself, or if you prefer to put it in the chat, that's absolutely fine. Yes, Huda, I see you're unmuted. Yes.
First of all, I'm very sorry because I'm attending late. So it was what I've heard. It was a very interesting and amazing content. Thank you very much for both of the two coaches for their presentation. It was very clear, so I don't have any question, and I'm pleased to be with you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. We much appreciate you being here with us and for your kind feedback. Okay. Someone who starts supervision path D. Oh,
That's a
yes.
smile.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Yes. No. Did I see a hand? No. Yes, Soraya.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Thank you for your nice lecture, and I learned a lot. I don't have any question. I just want to apologize for don't turn on my camera, but I learned a lot, and thank you. I follow you and be in contact with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Soraya.
Can I just answer Soraya, Katerina? Katerina, sorry, Soraya, I know you were just saying thank you, but you actually bring up a point of supervision that we haven't covered yet, which is appreciation. So actually taking the time to appreciate when we've been courageous as coaches, even though maybe it didn't feel like it at the time, or we didn't think it at the time, and taking that time to appreciate the work the team's doing. There's another really valuable part of supervision that sometimes I'm thinking about myself as a supervisee. When I go into supervision, I'm going, oh, I'm going to have to tell them that I did X, Y, Z wrong, or I don't know what to do, or I'm stuck. And actually just being in the presence, I'm thinking of group supervision at the moment, of people who say, wow, it's really, really amazing that you noticed that, or I really appreciate that you're bringing this case because now I can talk about how I'm feeling about a similar case. So just offering us your appreciation reminded me that we haven't brought that point yet, and it's crucial. I so often come out of a supervision session thinking, actually, I'm doing better than I thought I was. And I don't think that's unusual. So thank you so much, Soraya.
And thank you, Gillian, for picking.
Good point. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God. My brain keeps thinking of so many things. Just to disclose that with Gillian, also we were at the same supervision group as supervisees ourselves. And I have to say that I have done a lot of therapy also because of my personal needs, but also of my background So as a former therapist, drama therapist, it was mandatory, at least if you want to have an ethical practice, to receive your own therapy, but also to have supervision. So when I started coaching, I was surprised why it wasn't mandatory also to receive supervision as a coach. Hence my excitement and joy when all the subject matter experts, when we were working to develop the team coaching competencies, we agreed on supervision. No, supervision needs to exist there. It's not a good to have, it's a must have. And I have found myself as a coach being supervised to be crying more than I have cried in my therapy sessions, for example. So yes, and I forgot the question that I had. Oh, here is my question. I have also met with coaches who say, no, I'm okay, I don't need supervision. Yeah, Helena, very often, right? So what would you say to the coaches who say, you know, no, I don't need supervision?
I think if we're talking about ICF coaches or credentials specifically, to add another dimension to that question, one I hear is, oh, I'm only working towards ACC, so I'm not dipping my toe into anything that I would need supervision on yet. Or MCCs that feel, well, I'm an MCC, I should be fine. I should know what I'm doing, otherwise I shouldn't be an MCC. And I think my answer to that would come back to the fact that we are all unique human beings who can only see so much about ourselves at any one moment. And perhaps working towards an ACC qualification, potentially some parts of that would be slightly different. There might be more supervision around, you know, what feels best for you in terms of methodologies or tools or ways of working, or, you know, rather than trying to be someone else or trying to work towards trying to use the tools and techniques of a particular kind of training or school, trying stuff out and sort of trying on a new coat and seeing what it feels like. But when it comes to an MCC, I mean, I can also ask you, Katerina, and you, Eva, what you feel, but I believe that the more work I do on myself, the more I see needs to be worked on. The more learning I undertake, the more I see there is to learn that I simply wasn't able to see before.
Yeah,
So I would
agree.
say I need more now than ever before. What about you, Eva?
Sorry, I thought you had finished. Yes, yeah, for me, it's like peeling the onion. The more you peel it, the more you cry. You get through the essence. I would say we all want to be loved. We're human beings. And we take that need into our sessions. So in reply to that question, Katerina, I would say, if you as a coach don't embrace your humanity, meaning your potential, the things you're doing right without even knowing, and the things you're stumbling with, you're carrying in a backpack, your fears, your assumptions, if you don't look at yourself as a fallible human being, how are you going to embrace your coachee's humanity, your client's humanity? So that would be my answer.
It gave me goosebumps, what you just said, Eva. And I felt like, yeah, we want to be lost. We also want to be accepted. We want to be seen. And in supervision, with all these mirrors, it's impossible not to be seen. And I can understand that, yes, this is something valuable, it is something necessary, but also this can be something scary.
Oh, I have another metaphor, sorry. Can I close with one metaphor since we've had a contest of metaphors and it absolutely addresses what you're saying? I came up with this recently. So I had cataract and I thought I was seeing reasonably well until I got operated. And then I said, oh my God, the world suddenly is brighter. And I could see everything in detail. But that also meant, so there was a lot of joy, but also meant that I could see my wrinkles better. So that also addresses what you said. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but the metaphor just came. And you're going to see your wrinkles better, but you're going to see altogether with so much more clarity. And that's who you are and how others are seeing you. Just you weren't allowed to see yourself.
And it's absolutely fine because you're going to be accepted and loved in your wholeness, wrinkles and all. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Eva, and thank you, Gillian, again, for all your insights. There were a lot of talking about appreciation, a lot of appreciation comments in the chat box. And thank you all for being with us today and staying with us. We are going also to send you the recording and really enjoyed having you with you in this super important topic. Thank you all very much. And we wish you all a wonderful rest of the day and the week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.